Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Sharaad Kuttan. My guest tonight is Choo Kok Beng. He's with the Malaysia Board of Technologists, and he's a champion for the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint that has identified professional services as one of those key drivers for the national economy. Let's talk about digitization. It's been the story of the last 20 years. How far are we in terms of getting a handle on the importance of digitization within the professional services? Is there an unevenness? Are some professional services much more kind of ahead in the race and others behind? And if so, why?
In our case, we are quite fortunate because we started on digitization many years ago when we started this idea of the multimedia super corridor. So we were carrying through, we were actually on that part. But of course, some other nations came along later and they overtook us. So now we realize that we have been overtaken. But then it's good that we have taken note of this, and today, in today's current situation, I think we are all out for full digitization of the entire industry. So I think in the case of digitization, the application to all area of services is more or less the same. It's the speed of connectivity that we are talking about. And we are very happy to note that about 2 months ago, Malaysian government already announced that they will launch the 5G technology. So when you have this 5G technology launch, then I think that it will benefit across the board.
Why do you think it's been so slow? I mean, politicians are very quick to use, these cliches around Industry 4.0. Everybody can say it, but somehow delivering on it seems to be much harder for Malaysian politicians and leaders. I'm not quite sure, because I've heard this conversation in many other sectors where, for instance, even the industry, not being able to get that fiber optic line into your factory. I mean, these are real infrastructure problems. What's the gap? Why are we failing to actually live up to our stated aspirations?
So at the present moment, I think the Malaysian mentality has always been that we are over-dependent on the government. I think it's good that the industry is taking the challenge to come in and play a bigger role, so that you then will only need the government to facilitate and provide some seed funding, and government will come. The public will come in. Public industries will come in, because when you talk about digitization, it's going to be a huge amount of money.
And so it's about investment.
Yeah, investments to come in. So Malaysia, I think the investment climate in Malaysia is very attractive. Many people like to come here. So if the right policies is put into place, where we encourage competition, and then of course then it will flourish very fast. But I think in the past, what has actually happened was that there was some kind of monopoly. Some parties were given the right to, for example, the broadband highway. So I think we realized that that is not a very good way to go. It's better to encourage competition, so that foreign funds can come in and invest into the infrastructure that's required to expedite digitization across the board.
Right. I wondered if we could turn our attention to the question of the brain drain and the fact that many professions, Malaysian professionals, are actually all over the world. I mean, yes. It's shocking. Almost every corner of the planet seems to have a Malaysian there who's come on their own steam to establish a business or or provide services. What is the issue for us here? Is it good that Malaysians are leaving and finding new markets, or is it somehow a bad thing? I mean, because brain drain is obviously seen as a negative thing. How do you view this issue?
Personally, I think that when you talk about brain drain, you must look at it on a longer perspective. For us Malaysians to be more advanced than what we have in this country, we need to go out. Okay, so for a moment, they are all out there, So they are being exposed to new technology, all sorts of things, and they also, in many cases, Malaysians are very outstanding. So they will take some time to develop all this knowledge and talent. So there will be a time that I think eventually they will come back here, and that's where we will benefit. So the temporary shortage of the temporary effect is that we feel the effect of brain drain being negative. But I think in the long run, if the country remains to be very harmonious, peaceful, and a nice place to live in, Malaysians are always very loyal to this country here.
They will return.
Yeah, they will return.
And they'll return and bring those expertise.
All the knowledge will come back here.
Okay, what about the other side of the story, which is how open are we to the professional services of foreigners, right? I know there's been a lot of discussion around opening up our legal services and so on and so forth. And while we are very happy to have Malaysians travel all around the world, we're less happy about opening up our borders to competition from abroad. What's your position on that?
I think that in order for you to be better than what you are, you must be able to invite the competitors to come to your country. So in my mind, we have been a bit slow in liberalization of our professional services. We must look at it from the positive point of view, that when they come here, it costs us, we will learn from them. So from there, we not only learn from them, but we form network with them, where we form some partnership, where we can, in fact, exploit the other parts of the world together with these foreign professionals.
But that's a very generous and open kind of attitude, right? A lot of people think we need to protect our local industries against foreign competition. It's often seen as a zero-sum game, that somehow we would lose out to much more, more aggressive, much more get-going, types of foreign players. Do you think we need to fear foreigners coming into and providing their services here?
Personally, I don't see why we should fear. For example, I give you some examples. For example, I'm an engineer, so I'm more familiar with engineering projects. How are we able to build the Petronas Twin Tower if the foreigners were not here? So when the foreigners were here and working with us to build the Petronas Twin Tower, from whatever experience that we gain, we should then build Twin Towers out of Malaysia. So I look at it from that perspective.
So it's kind of a technology transfer.
Technology transfer.
And skills transfer. Okay. Again, we'll take another short break. We'll be back with more on the question of productivity and professional services. Stay tuned.